Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the BSB show. This is season 2, episode 1. You join us once again. It's the 2024 Bennetts British Superbike Championship, and you have the pleasure of Mr. Burton and I with you as we discuss the events goings on, the reaction, the news, the analysis from round 1 at Navarra. Don't go anywhere. Good stuff. Happy to have you with us. As I said, we're going to talk about Navarra, what happened there. We're then going to look ahead at the official test that takes place very soon at Oulton Park, and then straight afterwards we're into the race at Oulton for round 2. First things first, Mr. B.
Yep.
Our first trip abroad since we were last at Assen, and this time Spain. MSV owned the circuit.
Yep.
It was an obvious choice, I guess, for those guys to say. It's April. It's Britain.
Go to Spain.
You know, let's not. Yeah, let's go to Spain. Let's eat ice cream. How was it? I know the circuit's been used for World Superbikes before, hasn't it? But how was it for the BSB guys? They've tested there last year. They tested there this year.
Yep.
But how was it for you? Brits abroad?
Very Brit abroad. Yeah. Went in my Crocs. I went as probably a lot of people went quite sceptical about the whole thing. But I've come away with a changed outlook on it, to be honest. It's a fantastic circuit. The facilities are brilliant, and I am not just saying this because I work in BSB and I've worked there for 7-8 years. I am saying this from a personal point of view. As a fan, it's brilliant. It really is. The circuit is great. Obviously the weather is great. And everything about it is really, really nice. It's a nice chilled atmosphere. Obviously, the schedule didn't have as many support classes in there as it normally does. So there was a little bit of time in between races. It flowed a little bit more freely for me. And to be honest, it wasn't as expensive as what I was expecting it to be. So, for example, it might cost you a little bit to get out there. So in terms of fly, however you want to do it, whether if you want to fly, whether if you want to get a boat, if you want to ride, drive, whatever, you're going to try and find the cheapest way of doing it. But when you're there, it's actually a lot cheaper than what you think. Because you're not in a tourist area, shall we say, it's a lot cheaper. So
there was a few spectators we saw on the television footage. Yep. Was it easy to get around for those guys? Could they see from various points? Is it spectator friendly?
It is spectator friendly, yeah. On the pit building, the main paddock pit building, there is a big roof, so you can literally go and stand right on the roof and look over. There's a sort of balcony through the cafe, so there's a cafe on the first floor, so you can stand on that and watch the pit lane. Yeah. You can watch the home straight, and when you're up there as well, you can see into turn 1, you can see down the straight and into turn 4, the long, was it turn 4?
Yes.
The long
1,
left
2,
up
tight
the hill.
3.
Yep, and then you can see the sort of infield section at the back, which then leads you back up onto the main straight. I should know it a bit better because I ran it, but so you can see a lot, and you can access quite a lot around there. It's just a real lovely place to go to. So we stayed in a place called Logrona, which is about 20 minutes drive from the circuit. And then we stayed in a real nice hotel, and it wasn't as expensive as what people think it is. But the nightlife is really, really good. So you on an evening you can go in. There's loads of bars. There's loads of restaurants. There's one main street which is full of tapas bars, and it's so cheap. The most I paid for a pint of lager was €4. You can't get a pint of lager in the UK for less than a £5 nowadays.
Yeah, this is Bertie's tourist tips.
Navarra,
get it booked for next year. Assuming we're going to go next year.
I mean, let's be honest. You know, MSV have bought the circuit for a reason. To me, it makes a little bit more sense than going to Silverstone and being freezing cold in an open planned circuit like Silverstone at the start of April. and when we got there, we flew into Bilbao, and we drove over the mountain road. As some people may know, I don't have a bike licence yet, but I was driving over that road and I thought I would love to be riding a bike on this road. It was so flowing, it was nice, there was hardly any traffic on it. It was just a real nice place to start the season, and you've got good weather. It just felt a nice start to the season. Okay, yes, the racing could have been a little bit closer. We don't have any say in that. Stuart and MSV don't have any say in that. It's down to the riders at the end of the day.
Yeah, let me ask you this then, because the riders had an official test there this time last year. They did an official test there this year, just ahead of the race. What do the riders think of the circuit?
So a lot of the riders love it. 90% of the riders love it. Ryan Vickers really likes it. The changes that the MSV have made to Navarra since the first test at the start of last year has really improved the circuit. So I think they've opened up a couple of corners, made it a lot safer, and they're planning on changing a little bit more of the circuit. I think turns 14 and 15 or 13, 12 and 13, something like that. The back end of the circuit anyway. Jonathan Palmer was saying at the weekend that that's what their next plan is to make it is to change those corners to make it a little bit different and a bit more exciting, a bit more of an overtaking places. There aren't too many overtaking opportunities around that circuit, so there is a lot. There is a lot that they're going to do there, but all the riders love it. They really do. I mean, there's so much in there. I think there's 6 first gear corners. Into turn 1, you are flat out in 6th gear. You can hear I was stood on pit wall, and you can hear them go down the straight, and before they're tipping in, they are clicking 6th gear, and they are holding 6th. It's incredible. And
ballsy. Yeah,
really is, and it's a nice place to go to, and all the riders really like it. They really like it. There is a little bit to do. But they're always going to be with a new circuit. It's only been built 10 years, and MSV have only had it for 2. So there is a lot to do, but the riders love it. They really do.
Just to underline that point, Jonathan Palmer is the owner of MSV, isn't he?
Yes,
Motorsport Vision, who own BSB, and he owns all the circuits that MSV own, of course. So Navarra, the likes of Oulton, Cadwell,
Stetson, Brands, Donington. Yeah.
Grand. Shall we pause there and have a little check-in of the highlights? So this is the highlights of races 1 and 2, courtesy of Eurosport.
Ryan Vickers was in 3rd with his teammate up ahead of him, and Danny Kent on pole as it was a Yamaha lockout for the opener in 2024 in Navarra. Vickers got the whole shot into turn 1, and Glenn Irwin was joining them despite a mistake into turn 2, going wide, allowing the 3 Yams to go up ahead of him. Rory Skinner made a good start as well on the Taz Racing BMW to go up into 5th, whilst Peter Hickman led the chasing pack. Carl Wright made a move on Vickers down into turn 9 to lead the race. Danny Kent always in pursuit. They got themselves into a decent rhythm. At this stage, Rory Skinner able to hold on to their coattails. Little mistake from Vickers down at turn 9 allowed Danny Kent through, but he managed to hold off Glenn Irwin. And there was a monster crash for Tom Neve, his 3rd of the week at the same corner into turn 1. Thankfully, the Lincolnshire rider was A-OK. In the background, Lewis Rollo, unfortunately, ended his first race in Superbikes in the gravel trap. A crash for him on the Sencat Aprilia. But as we tick down the laps, it was all on for the race win. Glenn Irwin at this stage fancied a chance on the podium, and we thought Danny Kent had just slipped away, but Danny then started to get back into his rhythm again and caught the leading group. Ryan Vickers challenged Kyle Wide on a number of occasions, and then getting into the slipstream, a brave move from him on the approach to turn 1 with a couple of laps to go, and he bolted. He showed his cards, he got out front, and he roared away to win. Ryan Vickers wins the opener of the season ahead of Kyle Wide and Danny Kent. Race 2 at the Circuit of Navarra to kick off 2024 saw Kyle Wright start from pole, but immediately challenged by Danny Kent despite Ride closing the door uphill. There was immediate drama. Not a good start from Glenn Irwin. A rocket start for Rory Skinner, who swooped through into third, but then he had a moment. Glenn Irwin was pushed wide, and they then formed a big gap, and the three Yamahas managed to get out front again. There was drama for Fraser Rogers as he'd got himself into contention for another top 10. A big crash for him after an impressive race earlier in the day, but he was up on his feet and walked back to the garage. Danny Kent then took a turn of leading the race ahead of Kyle Ryde, and before too long, Ryan Vickers, his teammate, went through as well, as the McCams Martrain team anxiously waited to see if Danny could pick up his first win. Unfortunately for Rory Skinner, the news didn't get any better, and Mechanical saw him exit scene. Tommy Bridewell was riding tremendously. He barged his way through into third place and looked like he was going to challenge for the podium. But then unfortunately for him, a Mechanical, the reigning champion, was forced out of the race. That left Leon Haslam to try and upset the Yamaha's rhythm out front, but he didn't quite have enough speed for it either. And ultimately, it was going to be another battle for victory between the Yamahas. Vickers made his absolutely brilliant move that he loves into turn one to go through, and ultimately was never stopped. Despite a harum-scarum moment into the final corner, he just managed to get it over the line to do his first double in British Superbikes ahead of Danny Kent and Kyle Ryde.
Squeaky bum time for Mr. Vickers right at the end there. Quite nearly threw it away, didn't he?
Very nearly, yeah.
Now, obviously testing before, then the 2 race days, but there were 3 Yamahas on the grid, and they filled the podium on both for both races. So it's clearly a Yamaha circuit, right? Why does it suit the Yamaha?
It's a good question. I think it's probably because the first half of it is quite fast and flowing, and the Yamaha stops and turns quite nicely. Saying that, so does the Ducati, but I think Glenn just had a few issues. I don't know whether if also the new regulations have played a part in this. So obviously everybody has to now run standard cams. I also don't know whether if the rear tyre selection. So obviously now everybody only has the option of the SC0. That's all you can use. Whether if that had a part to play in it, or whether if the Yamaha is just a better developed motorcycle at the moment.
Well, it's funny, isn't it? Because, of course, the news just before Navarra was all around Yamaha not producing any more R1s for the road, and here we are on a bike that is not brand new compared to the likes of the Honda and the Ducatis, or not as developed perhaps. It's been through much more of a development program. Perhaps you'd expect a bit like the Kawasaki. It's coming towards the end of its life. It needs to be replaced, but. The proof's in the pudding, first, second, and third in both races, and fast too. It wasn't they didn't inherit a lead. The Yamaha certainly earned it.
Yeah, they certainly did, and I think the 2.5 days of testing there really helped the Yamahas. It certainly helped the OMG boys. So the OMG boys, for me, are the luckiest of the riders on the grid. They had during testing they had 4 motorbikes to ride, basically. Both Kyle and Ryan had 2 different specifications of motorbikes. Ryan said afterwards that, they basically got to a point of where they said, right, these are the best bits. He said that's the best bit from bike 1. They're the best bits from bike 2. Put them together and let's go see what we can do. And he said to us afterwards, after the racing, that between race 1 and race 2 they made no changes. All they did was put different tyres in it, fresh tyres, and he went out and rode the bike and said, let's just see what happens. And obviously it worked. They were so consistent. They were in the 37s. I think Ryan at one point, at the end of the race, the second race, I think he did a 36.9 with like 3 laps to go. Like, it's incredible consistency. But like for me, those 2.5 days of testing really, really helped the Yamahas. And the biggest thing is, they're not crashing. Danny Kent didn't have a tumble, Kyle didn't have a tumble, and Ryan didn't have a crash.
They gave it a good go though, didn't they? Both Kyle and Ryan were out the seats.
Ryan did give it a good chance. Yeah, he did give it a good chance, especially at the end. But they're not crashing, and that's the most important thing. You look at some of the teams that were there during the test. Tommy Bridewell had a massive crash at turn 1. Dean Harrison, massive crash. Andy Irwin, 2 crashes over the weekend. Tom Neve, Tom Neve has written off 3 superbikes at the same corner. Fraser Rogers written off a superbike. There's so many people that have crashed this weekend that have performed okay, but because of the crash, they've been put back in time.
We're going to be grateful that none of them were injured as well.
Exactly,
the protective gear worked really solidly.
The protective gear worked really well. The runoff at Navarra has helped that as well. Motorbikes can be mended, quickly. Some people can't, essentially. But yeah, for me, just to sum up, I think the 2.5 days of testing really helped the Yamahas, and the lack of crashing has also helped.
They're making the most of having those official Yamaha parts as well, aren't they? All the support.
Definitely.
Let's just move on then. So other than the obvious candidates for sort of star of the weekend, with Vickers qualifying in the front row with 2 race wins, and dominant, is dominant the right word? Certainly the Yamahas were dominant, weren't they? They stretched that field.
The Yamahas were dominant. I was really impressed with Glenn at times. His race performance, I was expecting him to be a little bit stronger in the races. I think race 2 he just got nerfed out into turn 1 or turn 2, pushed wide. He dropped back to about 12th, came back to 7th or 8th,
finished
something
8th,
like that. Finished 8th. Tommy Bridewell didn't qualify well because of an engine problem on his Superpole lap, which put him down the grid. Finished 7th in the first race, coming from 13th, I believe, and then in the second race was battling for the podium.
Yes.
Unfortunately, a quick shifter broke, which meant that he had to pull out of the race.
Yeah, real shame for him actually, wasn't it? Because
he was performing really well,
and he reeled them in. It wasn't like he
did.
went with them to begin with. He reeled them in, and in fact, he still set fastest lap in the second race.
Yeah.
So clearly, despite that Fireblade being brand new, fresh out the box, they haven't done a great deal of testing, and they got the bikes late. And this is the bloke with the number 1.
Got some pressure on his shoulders,
and he's gone out there, and we've seen him before the season. You have spoken to him, I've spoken to him. He's relaxed, he's in a good place, and I was pleased to see him battling and doing a really, really good job.
Yeah.
Who else had a good weekend for you?
Leon Haslam.
Yeah.
Leon Haslam impressed me. Was close in that second race to a podium, just didn't quite have the pace to get on the podium, but to finish 4th was pretty solid. He wasn't expecting, I don't think he was expecting as good a result as that, should I say. The other person that did really impress me was Fraser Rogers. Really impressed me. So he got straight into Superpole. Unfortunately, they had an issue on his Superpole lap. Basically, the fuel pump exploded,
right,
more or less, on his Superpole lap, which meant that he could get round a lap, but it was a very slow lap. Yeah. So he qualified 15th, but rode really well in the race, in race 1, qualified 8th for the second race, but unfortunately then had a bit of a tumble, lost the rear on lap 2 or 3. And completely wrote a bike off.
Yeah, nasty looking crash.
Yeah, nasty.
But he was fast, wasn't he?
He was
this
very
is despite him. He's not been on the Superbike grid for some time, and he's certainly not ridden that Honda before until it came to testing. So an impressive start for him.
Yeah, definitely.
I'm going to throw another name at you, Max Cook.
Yeah, really impressive. Solid, just solid. Good results. Again, not crashing, not throwing it up the road. Starting out the season off really well. Same as Charlie Nesbitt, not been in it when when he shouldn't be been in it, shall we say, in qualifying and in races. Jason O'Halloran, solid. Just points on the board, starting off the season strong. Not throwing it at the scenery, not being daft or anything like that.
Learning how to race that bike.
Learning how to race the Kawasaki. Still yet to get the most out of it. Navarra probably doesn't suit the Kawasaki as much as it does the Yamahas. But a real solid start for Jason as well. Real solid starts for both the Kawasaki boys.
Who should have had a better weekend? We've talked about those who have been crashing, and unfortunately Honda have had some technical gremlins and some crashing. Well, Andy Irwin didn't have a particularly strong weekend. Yeah,
he didn't have a particularly strong weekend. I think a couple of crashes in testing, and then the 2 days of testing before. A crash in I think FP2 set him back ahead of then qualifying. It just sort of then spiralled from there really. And on the Sunday he really didn't sound well. He came into the media centre and he sounded really bunged up and really you couldn't really understand really what he was saying. So it wasn't well for the Sunday's races. For me, Glenn, I was expecting a little bit more from Glenn.
As was I.
Yeah, I was expecting a little bit more from Glenn.
Qualified 4th and then finished 4th and 8th.
Yeah, like I say, he did get nerfed out into turn 2, but I was expecting a little bit more from Glenn. I was expecting actually probably a little bit more from Dean Harrison. Yeah. He started testing off really well. Started the few days tested really quite strongly, but he had again big crash into turn 1, 150 odd mile an hour tip off into turn 1. Wrote a bike off there, had to rebuild it. Honda have had an expensive weekend out in Spain.
Good to see Rory Skinner back.
Yes, really nice to see Rory back. Actually, that's probably one that we should have really mentioned in the that's done well section. But nice to see Rory back again. He's another one that had a slight tip off on Wednesday afternoon. Hurt his arm actually, not badly, but just awkward. So to see him qualify well, race well in race 1, slight technical issue in race 2, which meant he didn't finish the race. But there's signs of something there for Rory, which for me is really, really good. Again,
he spent the last 12 months on a Moto2 bike, learning a completely different way of riding. He's come back to Superbikes. He's on a 1000cc bike. He's got a BMW he's never ridden before.
Yeah.
We only saw him at one of the 2 test days at Donington as well, so he hasn't had a great deal of time on the bike. All of a sudden, he's qualified 5th, and he's finished 5th in the first race, and he's running up the front. Oh, he had a bit of a scruffy first lap, I think, didn't he, in race 2? But promising for him.
Yeah, I think it just shows Rory's quality. We know he's a quality rider, and I think when you're in Moto2, you're riding aggressive. You really are pushing those Moto2 bikes to the limit, and then when you come back on a superbike, he just seems to free with it and he's flowing with it. And it was nice to see him, like he was backing it into the hairpins, backing it into the corners, really using the rear brake. And I was like, that's a Moto2 style on a superbike. It was nice to see. It's good to see him with a smile on his face as well. He's walking around with a big smile on his face, and so it is nice to see Rory back. And I would expect, heading now fully into the season, you're going to see Rory up there properly.
It's probably because all the Monster Energy he's been drinking.
Yeah, probably. Yeah.
Let's pause there. We'll look at an interview that you did with Ryan Vickers, star of the weekend, front row qualifying,
man of the meeting,
back-to-back victories. What a season start! Here he is.
Welcome to Bennetts British Social. First of all, congratulations, double race winner out here in Navarra. Just talk us through the weekend, because you've got a massive smile on your face, leaving here championship leader. It's a nice position to be in after round 1, isn't it?
Yeah, it's been awesome. We've been strong in testing, and we haven't led many sessions, but we've done what we needed to do. And I feel like the team and myself have done a really good job in testing, analysing stuff, and really getting the most out of the bike and the new setup. So yeah, really, really happy, and the weekend's gone to plan. No incidents, and qualifying P2 on the grid was an awesome start in Superpole, which is never my favourite. So it's really nice to get a good job done in that, and then to win the first race was awesome. But then to go on and do the double, especially from P6 on the grid, was amazing. We rode amazing, and the team gave me an incredible bike. We didn't actually change anything, not a click between race 1 and race 2. We just decided that I think I'd benefit more from just riding the same bike twice and sort of getting a little bit more out of it for myself, and we did exactly that. And the bike did exactly what I thought it was going to do, because it was the same as the first race. So that allowed me just to get straight into a rhythm. Went straight from P6 to P3 into turn 1, which was great. Made the race a lot easier. I was a bit worried about getting pushed into the pack and having a bit of work to do and using too much tyre, but I got in the lead, and in the last 6 laps I just put the hammer down, up the pace again. I'd saved my tyre, and I thought, right, 6 laps to go, like who's coming with me kind of thing. And low 37s, 36.9, a couple of laps to go from the end is a great race pace, and just so happy. But thanks to the team and all of my sponsors have all been very loyal to me, and to give me this opportunity and to get here is been through nothing but hard work and a bit of trust from a lot of people, which has been really nice, and it's great to wrap it up with a double.
You seem really relaxed, but also really confident. Somebody said to me at the start of the weekend, who do you think is going to go all right here? And I said yourself.
Yeah.
I wish I'd have put a few quid on you now. But you just seem a different Ryan Vickers. Is that a fair assessment?
Yeah,
for me to
100%.
say?
You know, God, through the winter we've worked so hard, and that's just not physical training. You know, I've done a lot, but you know, everything through just my approach to when I go training on the motocross bike. I've been working exactly how I want to work in BSB, and I think it's paid off. You know, we're in a completely different place, and you know, I know I can be fast. I don't need to try to do anything stupid. I just need to ride the bike how I ride the bike, and I don't think we're going to be far away. So that's what we've been doing, and me and Roger Marshall and Dave and everyone, the whole team. I was so surprised. I went to the team workshop a few weeks before the first round, and you know, the bikes were under preparation, and I couldn't believe the work that they'd done. It was really surprising when I didn't expect certain areas to improve much, but they've made a massive step, and that's down to nothing else but in-house. You know, they've done an incredible job, and everything's ready. You know, we've got 2 bikes for testing, and that made life so easy through the testing program, and we was able to get through so many different setup combinations, which I think has had a big benefit on our results at round 1.
What are those things that have changed with the bike? Because like you say there, you've had 2 bikes to test, which has helped you not having to throw a different swing arm in. Takes, you know, half an hour to change. But what are those big changes that have made the Yamaha into a race-winning package again, shall we say?
Yeah, well, it's, you know, we've just got all the updated parts. You know, being the official supported Yamaha team, we was able to get access to a lot more parts, and it's not actually anything revolutionary. You know, it's just a bit more in line with what World Superbikes are at now. You know, the different subframe, different tank, and stuff like that. But also by Tubo, they've brought a lot of stuff to the party this year. You know, they've improved the rear shock, they've improved the front forks, and I think as a combination, you know what I mean. We didn't get all of the time from a seat unit, we didn't get all of the time from a tank, but we've got a little bit here and there. And having 2 bikes, that separation was basically my last year's bike versus this year's bike. As the testing programs progressed, those 2 bikes have got closer together, so there's been less differences, and then that allows us to test, let's say, a swinging arm, because there's no changeover time. You know what I mean? There's no sitting in the garage waiting for the boys to do a swinging arm change, and they're rushing, and then it encounters mistakes, and it's not right. You know, 2 bikes are identical, but 1 change. You know, and then you can back to back the item, and I think that's the best way of testing. You know, you really utilize the laps. You know, you can do it at the same point of the day when the temperatures are the same, everything's identical. Got our new tyres on both, and then you get a very accurate decision. And I feel like we've not made one bad decision on the package that we've decided to go with.
How have you found the Navarra circuit? Because, well, obviously, what a stupid question, because you've taken the double win, but how have you found it? Have you enjoyed it? Because to me, it does seem like a real nice place to come to.
Yeah, it's great. I mean, I broke my wrist here on the first session last year, which really hampered our championship last year. But you know, we came back here with not many laps here, and obviously a bit of a bad record. But we got back into the swing of things, and now they've changed turn 5. Incredible job, you know, absolutely amazing. The corner is my favourite corner I think I've ever been round. And you know, they've just done a little few tweaks here and there, but I think the progression for this place is going to be massive, and I look forward to coming back here next year, because I feel like they've got more stuff planned. So I think the track is going to be an amazing race circuit, and it creates something different. You know, I think the next circuit where we use first gear more than once is Donington, and that's only twice we use first gear. But here we go back to first gear 7 times. You know. And that's 1 less than last year. It was 8 times last year, but with that new turn 5 we hold second. So you know, it's been awesome, and I think it's a great addition to have on the calendar.
Just finally, you mentioned there about mistakes. Cut out a lot of mistakes. You've not had, touch wood, you've not had 1 crash so far this season in testing and also in racing. That is a big part to play in the success for Ryan Vickers in 2024, isn't it?
Yeah, 100%. You know, it's been our downfall in a lot of years, but there's a lot of things that come into play when there's inconsistency. It's not all the rider, it's not all the bike, it's a team thing, you know what I mean? Everything has to be right, and you know, it's coming together. You know, we've got a great package, and I feel like we've I'm super comfortable on the bike, and that is a massive thing for a rider's confidence. I'm confident in my mechanics, my crew chief, everybody, Roger. I know that everybody in that team is 100% behind me and they're going to give me the best bike possible. So I don't even have to worry about that. I don't have to waste energy on it, and that's a massive thing. So that's a big thing towards the consistency side of things, that I know that the bike's going to be the best it can be for me, and then it's down to me just to get what I can out of it that weekend or that session, and not try and set a lap record when the bike isn't quite right.
Just finally then, before I let you go for your team picture, ahead of Oulton Park, 2 days of testing there, bit of a day off. I'm sure you'll be playing golf somewhere, and then obviously 3 days on track. Looking forward to that one, because obviously heading into there with a lot of confidence. How important are the 2 days on track before going to be?
Yeah,
ideally need some good weather, don't you?
Yeah, I think the important days for us. I missed the race and the test there last year for round 1. I did the second round, but we was on the back foot. But to be honest, by the last race of the weekend, we'd closed the gap massively to my teammate, and I think I beat him. I was 1 place behind him. So we're going to start there in a better place, and I think the bike, the setup configuration that we've got this year is a lot better. So I look forward to going to Oulton. It's a hard track when the bike's not quite right, but I believe with the setup that we've got now, it's going to be a bit better, and hopefully we can get a good couple of dry days under our belt, and we can improve and make it one of our best circuits.
Perfect. Well, Ryan, congratulations. Thanks very much for your time. Good luck at Oulton Park.
Thank you. Cheers, guys.
There we are. So no wonder he's got a smile on his face. He's probably permanently stuck there with all the champagne he's been sprayed with. Oulton Park is the next race. We've got a test there beforehand, and then we're straight into the regular weekend of 3 races. So it's the bisocial sprint race on the Saturday and then the 2 full-length races on the Sunday. It'll be a bit of a sort of a tester. It'll be good to see for us who's going to carry that momentum off from Navarra, who's got the bikes that are, because it's a very different circuit. I love Oulton Park. I love it. And looking back at the results from last year, there was a very mixed bag of results. You had Glenn Irwin performed particularly well. I think he had 3 race wins of the 6 races that took place there last year, and all the other races that he didn't win, he finished on the podium anyway. Yeah. Lee Jackson had 3 podiums. Brooks won. Bridewell had a couple of wins. So you can't, and that's BMW, and that's Ducati as it was last year for Bridewell, and it's so there's again a real mixture. Mix. What are you expecting to see?
I'm expecting a lot of Glenn. Just like you've mentioned there, the amount of race wins that he had there last year, he was really successful. So I'm expecting a lot more from Glenn. I'm expecting a good weekend for Jason O'Halloran. He likes it there. He likes that circuit. Lee Jackson obviously performed really well on the Kawasaki there, so I can see that working quite well. I'm expecting Brooks to be a little bit better.
Do you know, that's something I was going to talk about that when we were talking about Navarra, and they were almost anonymous a little bit, weren't they? Brooks and Hickman didn't have a particularly strong weekend.
Again, it's the old adage thing of the BMW doesn't seem to work in hot conditions.
Haslam and Skinner had it.
Yeah, I don't really know the problem there. It might, I should really go down and ask the question, but
let that be your challenge for Oulton Park.
I am sometimes a little bit scared of Josh Brooks. I will put that out there now.
Easy.
But I will go and ask the questions.
So he won there last year.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I'm expecting more from Josh. Yeah. I'm expecting a lot from Pete. Pete went well there last year. I think he led the race into turn 1 and then crashed. So I'm expecting a lot more from the FHO guys, and I'm expecting it to be a lot closer than what it was this weekend last at Navarra. Obviously, the Yamahas were just away with it really, but the 2 days of testing beforehand, if we get good weather, if there's good weather there, it's going to put everybody on a bit more of a level playing field, shall we say? And you're going back to what everybody knows. Everybody's got good data from previous seasons at Oulton Park. And a lot of, obviously, every single rider has ridden around Oulton Park.
Interesting. I'm just looking down at my notes. Yeah, true. The notes from last year. So I've got the podium positions for all 6 races that took place there. Only twice did a Yamaha appear on a podium. So it might throw the cat among the pigeons. The Ducat.
Yes,
that's a terrible
one. The Ducat among the pigeons.
Speaking of which, we've not mentioned Christian Nidden so far. A fan of Oulton?
Yeah, he is a fan of Oulton Park. Again, Christian was probably one at Navarra that went under the radar. good solid point scoring finishes. I think 2 fifths or fifth and a sixth or something.
Sixth and a fifth.
Fifth and a sixth. There we go. So one that went quite under the radar. Probably just didn't get the best of starts and just didn't get up there. If he was up there, he would have been closer to the front three and maybe challenging. But yeah,
good start to the season because he's
real good. Yes,
well, he's the first non-Yamaha in the championship.
Yeah, real, just solid, nice, solid, fresh start for Christian, and just seems happy when you walk past him. Little Toby was there at the weekend with his wife Nicola, so as always, just takes his mind away from the racing. But Christian's always just a focused fella anyway. But I would like to see Christian up there this weekend. We'll see.
And this is also going to be the first time we see the Superstock boys, isn't it? Because they were
first time we'll see the Superstock boys, Superstock 1000 boys. First time we'll see the sport bike class out there as well. Which I'm quite looking forward to that. Quite looking forward to seeing that. First time we'll also get to see the Super Team Cup as well. Super Team Championship. Full undercard of racing at Oulton Park. So yeah, it'd be good to see. Just hope we get the weather. Obviously, it's bank holiday weekend race, so you get the Saturday, Sunday, and Monday. Later start on the Sunday, which means we all get a lie-in, which is great stuff. But yeah, I'm looking forward to it. I'm looking forward to having 3 races, just back to a bit of normality. Because at Navarra, obviously, the 2 races just felt a little bit strange because you're used to 3 races across the weekend.
If you watch the BSB action at Oulton Park and fancy a ride around the circuit, then why not come along to our own track day? We have a Bennetts track day at Oulton Park on the 21st of May. There are still places available. We've got the likes of John McGuinness. He'll be riding around and offering some tutorials to whoever wants to ride around with him.
Yeah, might have Nathan Harrison there as well. Hopefully we're going to have Nathan there. And we might have another special guest. We are working very hard with this one, and we are 95% there. Bit of to and fro in, but we are 95% there, and he's pretty big name, and a real nice bloke as well.
Super, there you are. If you're a Bike Social member, then get involved. In fact, Bike Social members get all sorts of brilliant stuff at BSB, don't they? What's going to happen at Oulton Park?
So we've got a full calendar. We've got a full jam-packed weekend of stuff for customers. Obviously at Navarra it was a little bit skeleton. We had a lot there actually. We had probably about 35 customers there, which was pretty good, which was really good actually. I wasn't expecting it to be that full with it being the first one, and Spain, and people are a little bit unsure as to what happens. But this weekend we've got obviously Pit Perch back in action, so you can literally stand on pit wall and watch it. We've also got the exclusive viewing area, same place as what it has been before, so people will know it as where the podium is. It's the viewing area on top of the podium. So as you can see them coming out of the last corner, over the top, down the start-finish straight. So that's there. We've obviously got safety car laps, pillion laps, VIP hospitality, grid walks. Also then got priority pit walk. So Bike Social members, Bennetts customers, you get into the pit walk 10 minutes before everybody else. So you can run and chase after your favourite riders before everybody else. And basically just come and see us. So we'll be at the usual places to where we normally are. And if people aren't sure where that is, it's literally opposite the cafe. So opposite the cafe, just outside of the paddock, we'll be opposite the cafe, probably next to fan merch and a few other people. We'll have the dome set up there. I think we've got a couple of bikes on display as well. We're there all weekend after attending our first track day of the year at Donington Park on the Friday.
Brilliant. So if you're not, Bike Social membership is free with your Bennetts insurance if you're a direct customer. If you are not a customer or a member yet, you can sign up. It's £6 a month or it's £60 a year. I think we're still doing our half price special, aren't we, at the BSB round? Yep. So if you can sign up at Oulton Park just for £30 a year, and then you get access to all of those things that Michael's talked about just then.
Yeah, you get access to all of that throughout the year, so then you get to enter all of the competitions. At the minute, I think we're up to Brands Hatch, so the round 6, I think it is, that's now online. So we've got Knockhill, Snetterton and Brands, they're the latest ones, and the next ones will be coming online in the next few weeks. Normally the rule of thumb that we work towards is 12 weeks before the event, so that's when they'll come online, so you can enter the competitions. And then even if you don't win anything through the competitions that you've entered, but you still go to the racing, which I know a lot of people do, literally just come and see us. And like I say, those experiences such as exclusive viewing areas, priority pit walk, As long as you come and see us first thing, make sure we're your first port of call, then we can get you signed up, and you can go and you can, like I say, exclusive viewing area, priority pit walk, pit perch, all that kind of stuff you get to do without even entering the competition.
There you are. Don't also forget to come and join us on Facebook. We have a Facebook group. It's called facebook.com/Bennetts Bike Social.
Yep.
Come and join us there. Plenty of conversations going on there. We're all very nice. In fact, everyone's very nice on there. If you're not nice, you get turfed out. Good. Right. Let us look forward to Oulton Park. Hope you do too. Let us know your thoughts or comments on who might win or what else you'd like to see in this show or who you'd like us to interview, including Josh Brooks. And thank you, Mr. Burton. Thanks for your time and your insight.
Thank you.
And we'll see you next time.